Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tech Niger FM. I'm your host, as you all know, Babatunde Esonju, and, to- and today we'll be discussing about important topic shaping the future of financial services. And the topic is leading product strategy in payments, stablecoins, and embedded finance. As you all know, payments are becoming faster, more global and increasingly invisible. But one thing is very sure these days, stable coins, because I've been hearing stable coins from different payment providers, uh, payment gateways here and there. So stablecoins are creating new possibility for cross-border transactions, while embedded finance is allowing companies outside traditional banking to offer financial services directly within their products. So today, building successful products in this area require more adoption, new technology. It also require clear understanding of the customer needs. You can't build without you've gathered some feedbacks here and there from your customer. Regulation is also key. Market infrastructure. You need to also consider the risk involved and the long-term product strategy. And joining me today, I have 𝗟𝗻𝗱𝗶𝗶𝗃, a senior product manager with experience in cross-border payment, cryptos, and building fintech products from ground up. We've worked together, and I know what she's capable of doing. 𝗟MC, thank you for joining us on Tech Niger FM today. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's good to
Uh,
be here.
Thank you so much. Before we go deep into the conversation or the topic for today, could you introduce yourself and tell us about your journey into product management and financial technology, please?
All right, thank you very much. My journey has been an interesting one. I actually started, not many people know that I actually started off as a project manager
Wow.
before evolving into product. Um, After my first degree, I was working as a project engineer, actually, for an oil and gas servicing firm. And there are lots of transferable skills from project management to product management,
Wow.
right? And then I progressively grew within various roles, from working for non-financial products to working for financial products. And here we are today. One of those experiences that shaped my journey early on was when I was working for 𝗣𝗿. It's an African marketplace P2P payment system facilitating diaspora remittance to support educational causes back in Nigeria. And then InterSwitch was also a significant part of my journey. That was like a real exposure into an enterprise organization and how products are built with more specialized departments and skill sets, which is very different from how startups are built. Yeah, the dynamics in a startup and in an established company is completely different. And then very recently, I took a product from zero, from conceptual idea to launch in 8 months. That was while I was at Wondosh, and yeah,
Wow.
that's the here we are today. And of course, we worked collaboratively on a project together for a short time.
Wow.
So yeah.
Thank you for that. Wow. Wow. I've noticed that most people going into products, at least, I think one of my episodes also, there is a product manager that I brought that moved
Mhm.
from project to product.
Yes.
So, before I even go into my question, since we've talked about that, how easy is it? How easy to move from project to product? How easy is that?
It's actually easy if you set your mind to learning. I remember then, because the types of projects I was working on were construction type projects, media and entertainment projects, and all that. So it's a bit different. You need to work with Microsoft Office projects, but they're similar concepts. You have stakeholders in project management, you have stakeholders in products. Some of the stakeholders are internal, they're external. You don't have a product roadmap with project management, right? But there are lots of transferable skills across both. So I think that pivoting just means understanding that product management is fundamentally the framework that guides development of software projects. So you just need to kind of sit down and understand the software development life cycle, read about multiple use cases across various types of software products built, both B2C products and B2B type of products, and then just give yourself to learning the concepts. One of the things that helped me then when I was transitioning was I gave myself a target.
Okay.
I used to read like 3 articles on product management every day.
Wow.
And then I was reading like lots of glossary of terms. Glossary of terms is you just read the terms that are actively being used in the space. What's customer segmentation? What's A/B testing? What's product strategy?
Okay.
What is just reading those terms and just getting familiar with them. So I just set a target for myself, and I gradually got accustomed to the terms and the concept. And then I was fortunate to get a job. And then I just
Wow.
started to go from there.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. So let's move on. One other thing that I would also like us to talk about before uh we go into the topic is about you've been working in the payment. There are also other sectors.
Mhm,
There is aviation, there is
mhm,
insurance, there is health tech,
mhm,
legal tech. There are a lot, right? But
mhm.
what attracted you specifically to payment, cross border, and the likes?
I like money. That's the honest truth. I like money. I like making money. And I was just curious as to how money moves, right?
Mhm.
There was a time somebody sent me money. I was still in Nigeria at the time, and I got it. I didn't get it immediately. I think after one day, and it was expensive. So in my head, I'm like, I just got curious, and I was fortunate that the first job I got was really around the payment ecosystem, right? Somebody was trying to build a product to facilitate payments from one side to another. But I love health tech. It's actually on my radar. I've been talking to friends like I really love health tech. I think the future is going to be personalized healthcare,
Okay.
and those that know how, and personalized healthcare, and also the fusion of Western medicine with alternative medicine to deliver personalized healthcare. I strongly believe that that's the future of medicine. So it's on my radar, right? But yes, that's just it. I like money. I like the idea of money, and I was fortunate to just start off my career there.
Mm. Okay. We talk about that because I'm working on something regarding tech, and I think having
Oh,
you
nice.
on the product side of things will actually be a valuable thing for us. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So thank you so much for that. So let's go into the topic for today about product strategies in payment and the likes, because you've been doing a whole lot of things in payment. And as a product manager, when developing a product, a payment product, where should a product leader begins? Is it the customer pay points, the market opportunity, like you mentioned, the available technology, or we all know that regulatory is a key, but when developing a payment product, where should the product leader begins? Customer pain points, market opportunity, technology, or regulatory?
Okay. I'll first like to lay foundation.
Yes.
And the foundation is that payments as of today is no longer just about moving money. It used to be about moving money. Core of it is still centered around moving money, but now they're gradually evolving to become programmable financial infrastructure,
Okay.
right? And so product strategy has shifted from just let's build these features to how do we orchestrate the ecosystem to meet this need that we want to build for? How do we orchestrate this ecosystem of banks, compliance vendors, custody providers, identity verification providers? How do we orchestrate around these to build what we have in our vision, right? And so what that means is that the product discovery would be significantly different for those types of products, right? What product discovery would look like. I was telling someone recently that what product discovery looks like in an enterprise company is very different from what it looks like in a startup, right?
Mm.
With
Yeah.
enterprise solutions that are building B2B products, right? A lot of the evaluation of what needs to be built next will come from your conversations with the people using your products. So let me take, for instance, a compliance vendor. For instance, which was one of the vendors we worked with on my last, one of my last roles. We needed to configure something for our team as a startup, and she was showing us, okay, this is how you did. How like, oh no, that's not what we want. This is what we want to be able to achieve. And they discovered that they don't have that capability within what they had created. So
Okay.
that's how they get user feedback from people that are actually, it's a B2B SaaS, compliance solution. So for that type of company, that's how they get the user feedback and then funnel it across board, and probably within their team they'll do some sort of prioritization to see what's most important and then start to build for it. That is how that type of business would think through um the product discovery phase. This is some of the inputs for that type of business. Now for a startup that is building a B2C, it's a bit different, right? You're thinking through, I'm building for a customer. So why am I building this in the first place? Is there a market need for it?
Right.
Are we
Yeah.
just building because we think is the next big thing? Or there is a significant problem that this build will solve for, right? So I think that it starts from really the why and validating the why with the market's information you have available, right? The reason why stable coins is, there's a lot of noise around stable coins in the US, for instance, is because payments are not instant in the US. It was a culture shock for me when I got here that I would make a payment today and it would not necessarily be fully cleared until a day or two. And that's in stark contrast to the Nigerian market.
Yeah.
Payments are instant in Nigeria.
Yes.
Like you pay immediately, you get your money, you move. So the use case for these regions would differ. And as I said, it will start from understanding the customer pain point, then understanding the market, the dynamics around the market, right? That you're solving for, and how what you're building will be relevant to that market, right? And then where technology comes to play is you thinking through your product will be built using technology. So you need to think through if the region you're building for has technology access, and then if the purchasing, if it's something that needs to be paid for, what's the purchasing value? If it's something that is just like payments, what are the unit economics, and is it going to make sense financially to us as a business if we go into this space? Should we rather build for businesses? Should we rather just build an API businesses to connect to? Should we, so there are various approaches to it, but at the center of it is actually the customer. So the center of it always starts with the customer. What does the customer want? What does the market look like today and how customers engage similar products? And should we build from, is there a market need for this product? So that's probably what I'll say at the starting stages for B2C.
Okay. Thank you so much, because you can't build any products uh without you having a customer, because that's where you definitely
Correct.
going to make your money. So,
Correct.
like you mentioned, I'm aligned with you with the
Correct.
customer pinpoint. Actually, yeah, I'm aligned
Yeah.
with you on that. The other thing, I think recently I heard about a news from while just taking LinkedIn. That news just pop up around a startup company in Canada that is doing cross-border payment. The company raised a huge amount of money, but at the same
Mhm.
time, they shut down. So, what are the causes, or what commonly cause payment product to fail, even when the original idea appear so strong, or when you've done your validation, you've before someone can raise some amount of money, that means the idea has been validated, even maybe you've developed the solution and customer are already using it. But what are the common causes for payment product to fail?
That's a very good question. What are the causes for payment products to fail? There are many causes, many, but I'll start with the product strategy, right? Let me first start by defining what a product strategy is. A product strategy is a set of deliberate choices about what the problems are to solve for and why we should solve for them. Why this is the right time to solve for those problems and how the products, would give you competitive advantage. I say that because those set of deliberate choices is what sometimes causes that failure, right? Some businesses are more concerned with, I don't want to use the word making noise than doing the groundwork because there's a lot of groundwork to be done in cross-border finance. For that company, I don't know why they went under, but for some companies, if you violate one compliance regulation by FinCEN, you're done for. If that compliance regulation, if what you're supposed to pay as penalty fee for that compliance regulation is $2 million, you're done for. If you raised 8 million and you've paid a quarter of that on a fine, you have lost a lot of money that you should be using to build the business, right? So there a number of it could also be market dynamics that change, right? Maybe there was a competitor that was in a lot better. Maybe the strategy wasn't thinking of other parts. For instance, I want to use a common company we all know, 𝗟𝗡. I was very surprised when I saw that 𝗟𝗡, created a product around phone numbers or something like an eSIM. That's a product vertical that not a lot of cross-border companies will be thinking of creating, but it's a vertical that they have their reasons for creating that vertical. Maybe it's an income stream or whatever, but they have a reason for for creating that vertical in their business, right? So the numbers have to make sense. Your strategy has to make sense. The market you're working with has to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, because the truth is the money to be made on cross-border payments is not a lot. There were a lot of players in this space before fintechs came in. Western Union was there, Swift on the ground, as the payment rail. There were lots of companies that have been operating. Wise, they used to be called TransferWise, right?
Yeah.
Even Western Union. All these players have been there for decades. So if you're building to take their market share, you better be sure that you're building right. Your infrastructure decisions make financial sense. For instance, in the I don't want to say stablecoin space, but those that use stablecoin as the underlying settlement layer, the finances are usually calculated in basis points. To be honest with you, today, I've sat down with a finance person to learn that calculation. It's just, I don't get it. I will still continue to learn it till I get it right. But the point is, if you have a custody provider charging you a fee, sometimes those companies absorb the fee for a certain period of time, and then they'll look for ways to pass the fee on to the customers. But they start out that way in the short run, but in the long run, they see that it doesn't make financial sense, and they're burning cash. So sometimes those are some of the dynamics that causes some of these companies to fail. Making the wrong choices, not doing your financial projections well, understanding that your competitors also are there to win some of that market share. I read in an article that the market share for cross-border payments, in terms of like the fees, the projected fees for 2025, 2026 was like 52 to 56 million, something around those buckets. So 56 billion rather dollars. So you have like 5 key companies that have been playing in that space, actively enjoying that 65 or 53 billion. And then you are coming in without a unique strategy, without a superior advantage, without a cheaper underlying settlement layer, and you expect not to go on, and you're hiring the best hands. So I think that sometimes some of those companies go under because the choices they make are not the best of choices. Two, they haven't done their financial projections well. And financial projection is not something that you do once and you just go to sleep. As users are using your platform, you're evaluating, your treasury person is sitting with you to evaluate the future, what the future will look like, what other features you can add to it that can be income streams. So a couple of those choices can cost a business. And then fines. Disobeying any significant regulatory rule can cost you. So those are some of the reasons why a startup can fail. A payment startup can fail.
Thank you so much. You've answered one of my questions also, because we have so many cross-border payment solutions, and all of them are playing in the same game, right? Let me use that word. So the other thing is, all of them want to make money. That's the end game. But building it, how can a payment company build a meaningful advantage? Because all of them are always presenting, we have a lower transaction fee, we have this, we have that. But the major thing that all of them always present is that lower transaction fee, right? So apart from transaction fee, what other things, what other advantage do you think building this kind of cross-border payment solutions can actually add to their solution?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. That's the cheaper fee that you think is a small thing is a big thing. Let me give an example. I know it seems like, I know people over belabor it. Lower transaction fee, lower transaction. It's a big deal. Let me give you a personal example. Last year, my birthday, a friend sent me money from the UK, £250. I'll be transparent. He paid a fee from his end to send that money to me. When I received it, I paid $30.
Ha.
Yes. So that transaction fee that looks like, oh, it's cheaper, it's a cost, the significant cost, right? So, that's the reason why everybody is making noise about that, transaction fee. He paid a fee. I also paid it. Somebody that needed to send me $100 from Canada paid $5.3 to send that to me. So I'm just trying to use personal example so they can see what the underlying fee looks like when they say cheaper and all that, right? Another reason why people are building cross-border solutions is because it provides near instant settlements. Do you know that today, if we're both in the US and I need to send you $5 million to do something for my business, it might take a couple of weeks. I'm not kidding you. In the
Really?
US, yes. If I need to send you $5 million or even $20 million, like you are supposed to source something for my business, you're my business partner, and you own your own business, you need to send that to me. Now, the same thing, just imagine how long it takes for regional businesses to send that money. Maybe a Dangote needs to send 30 million to a partner in Argentina. Do you know how long it's going to take? In those days, do you know what used to happen? They used to lean on what is called letter of credit. Like that's like a promissory letter to pay that partner. So when you go to the bank and you say, oh, I need to send $30 million to this partner in Portugal or UK, they'll create the documents, the liquidity. The banks don't just keep $30 million. They're waiting for you to come and take it one day, even though you have it. They trade with your money so that they can make money on your money.
Yeah.
So liquidity, yeah. So the money is not just sitting there idle the day you want it. So you get to them and say, oh, out of my $100 million balance, take $30 million and send it to this country, to this partner for me. They will now do all sorts of things, create letter of credit. That letter of credit makes that manufacturer or that partner in the other country begin to process your machine or equipment, and because the banks have now promised themselves that we're going to do this transaction. So that gives them the comfort that, okay, this money is going to come through, and then they begin to. So those monies, I used £250 as an example to you that I
Yeah, it
paid
is
a
more than
sum.
that. Yeah.
Imagine the fee at $30 million. Imagine it. Just imagine it. So as much as it sounds like they're belaboring those things as the advantage, instant settlement is cheaper. The banks in the US closed financial transactions for the day, even all over the world, at 4:30 p.m. Imagine you need to send money to Japan. I don't know how many hours away Japan is from the US, right? Or even from Nigeria. Imagine you need to send money to Japan at 10 a.m. US time, and maybe in Japan that time it's already 6 p.m. They've already closed. Do you understand what you mean? It means that your money cannot even begin to talk or move till Monday.
Yes.
So those are some of the reasons why cross-border payment is, I don't want to say it's been hyped, but that's why there's a lot of noise. That there has been a lot of improvements, and technology has improved in a lot of other areas, but it appears that with money, technology wasn't moving at the same pace as other areas were. Years before now, we could not do this. We could not have calls like this. Do you
Yeah,
understand? We could only just text. We could only just, I remember in school, my phone did not even have video capabilities during my first degree, right? So imagine technology improving other areas, but the money area remains stagnant because of legacy systems. So everybody's just waking up to the idea that, see, there are alternatives. These alternatives, you can deploy them to make money move across borders with ease, right?
yeah.
And that's why there is a lot of noise about cross-border payments and its advantage of being cheaper and having near instant settlement and so on.
Hmm. Thank you so much for that explanation. That now moves me into stable coins, because stable coins now, I had names that Flutterwave partner with another company to deploy stablecoin infrastructure
Infrastructure.
for them. Yeah. So not even, let's even use Nigeria as a case study now, which means Nigeria too, they are also in the game of stablecoins. So, but my question towards that is now that it is actually increasing and it's been discussed. You hear stablecoins here and there as a solution for cross-border payment. What practical problem can they solve better than traditional payment infrastructure? You've explained it a bit, but I want you to expatiate it further so that people can know more about these stable coins and the problem that it can actually solve better than the traditional payment infrastructure.
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. So the truth is that a lot of companies that are facilitating cross-border payments are using stablecoins. You just don't know. It's their settlement layer. So the thing is, when you send money, right, the money to you has come instantly. Let me use Nigeria and then I'll use the US. When you send money, if I send you 1,000 naira in Nigeria, even if we're using different banks, there is a layer, the NIBs, I think they're not called NIP. That layer facilitates interbank settlements quickly, right?
Yes.
We don't see it. We just know that we sent you 1,000, you received it, you can work with it. But in another country like the US, that does not happen immediately. They take those monies and then they go to the different banks and then collect them as checks, for lack of a better word, and settlement happens after a couple of days. Now, if you want settlement to be instant, there's another version of that called RTP, real-time payment. But not all the banks within the US have RTP, right? It's just a couple of banks. So that begs the question, how do we make money instant, which is what is driving, a lot of these conversations. As I said earlier on, the company I was working for, they're facilitating cross-border payments, but stablecoin is the underlying settlement layer, right? So there are a couple of other companies like that you don't see it, but that's what is being used as a settlement layer, right? Your own is just sent the money, it has gotten there, right? And that is actually one of the key jobs. Let me just digress a bit. That's one of the key jobs of a product manager, being able to abstract all the complexity of the settlement layer and stable coins moving so that it's a seamless user experience for the user. Now back to Flutterwave, going to, collaborating with a stablecoin company. It makes financial sense. You know, prior to now, I don't know how their operations team work, but they probably have to, keep liquidity across banks and then move money as people move money around. But making that now happen on stablecoin rails just makes things easy for them and it makes the money move quicker. So, it's just what it is, to be honest. Money doesn't move as fast as people think it moves. That's the problem. We are used to seeing it, just especially Nigerians. We don't know that it's not like that in other parts of the world. It's not like that in other parts of the world. Money doesn't always move like that. Some places it does, but it's not like that, generally speaking. And I like the fact that Nigeria has started to play in this space, because believe it or not, we're one of the largest holders of crypto wallets. We're one of the largest users of stable coins, and there are different reasons for this, right? Some of us are some Nigerians are actively operating in the crypto space because they
Yeah.
want to hold their money in digital dollars to hedge against inflation, right? Some of them want to use it to trade. right? You have different buckets of users, but the truth is that money would always move. Money is always moving, right? And so for a company like Flutterwave that facilitates volumes of transactions, they would definitely need a cheaper infrastructure to ensure those transactions move faster. People don't like idle money. When money moves is when money is being made. That's
Yeah,
the truth.
that's
Idle money can only be used to as loans, or I don't know, like other financial instruments, within the banking infrastructure. And I don't think Flutterwave is a bank. Yeah, they acquired a bank, but at their core, they're not a bank. They're a
yeah,
financial
yeah, very
infrastructure,
bad,
right?
yeah.
So money is really made when it moves. And so perhaps to facilitate their payments, they're using stable coins to make things cheaper and also faster. And it's important that we realize that Africa actually has the largest growing youth population. And so what that means is that the youth population are the ones actively trading, actively doing business, moving money, right? Yes, the baby boomers and the millennials are still doing that, but you see, that bucket of growing youth population will continue to move money across the world, across Africa. And so financial companies are beginning to think through, okay, let's ensure we build an infrastructure that enables this on time. Let's be the first, let's be the first to get in and win that market share quickly,
Market, yeah,
and
that's true.
ensure that we are getting the best value with cheaper cost of moving this money across the world, right? So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why Africa is beginning to wake up to it, particularly Nigerians. Yeah.
Mm, wow, thank you so much. Let's dive into uh your leadership role, Pete, because you've talked so much about these stable coins and the financial stuff, but I want to also gain some ideas and experience from your leadership role. So we've worked together, but not that much. So I wasn't able to gain enough or more experience from your leadership role. But I believe we have listeners all over the world. You can be an engineering manager or a product leader, but we want to actually get some things from you. How do you align engineering, design, compliance, operation, and commercial team around one product vision? Let's say the cross border.
Okay. Thank you for that question. I think for starters, product managers excel when they have influence and the team believes in them. That's just the honest truth. Product managers gain influence with a team. People believe in you as a product manager when they believe in the vision.
Hmm.
So it is your job to sell the vision to them in a way that, to the rest of the team, in a way that they believe in it and they can run with it also. Because that is the only time you can get the buy-in of the people that are working with you. That's just the honest truth. That's when you can beg them that, oh my God, we have a serious bug and this is Sunday. Please, I am so sorry. Can you jump on the call? And they'll jump on the call. They'll jump on because they believe in you. And it's not a repeated act. It's not something you do all the time. Every Sunday you tell them to jump on the call. They'll jump on the call, right? So I think that it starts with that. Getting influencing your team, getting the buying of your team into the vision for what it is you are building for, right? That's the first thing. And to do that means that you need to be able to carry them along. I say it a lot that being a product lead requires you to have high emotional intelligence. That's the honest truth. High emotional intelligence. You need to know what matters to different people, right? Some people like public acknowledgements or this, just saying, oh my God, um, I want to look for a random name. Damn it, you did a fantastic job yesterday. I saw that, and you're saying it on stand up. Everybody, some people, that's what gives them go, oh my God, the PM called my name, the PM acknowledged me.
That's true. I agree.
For some people, it is that. For some people, it is just mentioning their name that this person needs a raise. She's done well. She deserves a raise. Advocating for your team when it matters the most, right? For some people, it's just they just want to do the work and just go home. Don't call me after 8 p.m. I'll be after 6 p.m. Don't call me before 9. Don't, and they will do a great job between that 9 and 6. So it's just really being able to understand your team members, what is important to them, what are their key motivations, and then selling the vision to them in a way that they believe in it and they can run the vision with you, right? But to specifics about execution, right? One of the things that has helped me is I know that engineers hate meetings. I know engineers hate meetings. You need to, and it's not just a Nigerian thing, no. Across even organizations, like engineers hate meetings. If they're going to be in that meeting, it must be worth their while. And there are different modes of communication that we do not always use, right?
Mm.
If you're working in a global team, right, like a team I've worked with before, you have somebody in India, you have somebody in Nigeria, you have somebody in Australia, you have somebody in the US, right? You're split across different time zones, and you need to get some deliverables across in within a time frame that matters to you. Sometimes just send a voice note so that send a voice note and itemize what you need them to help you do by this time as bullet points. In the morning, it's probably done before stand up, right? If another person, prefers visuals, sketch your idea on a sheet, sketch it out and tell the engineer or the solution architect, this is what I was thinking could be a solution to this hiccup we're having. Take a picture, send it to him. If it's in different time zone, tell him that XYZ, can you give me, what do you think of this? What's the problem with this? Like, think first. Not everything needs a meeting. That's the honest truth. Think first, document your ideas, your points, your questions, and then send it to the people that matter. You will get to a time that you would know that, okay, it is time for these stakeholders to meet on this. All of us actually have to meet on this to make a
Yeah.
decision. Then put that meeting on the calendar, right? But just, some people just like the idea of meeting, just jumping on meeting one, jumping on meeting two, and then they think that that's productive. That's not productivity. You've barely moved the needle. They've barely moved the needle, right? So it starts from there. Use various communication styles, methods to move things across very quickly. There is a ticket that is not clear to even you. Tag the engineer that I just put this here. I don't really understand XYZ. Optimize your sprint planning sessions well. Don't have one sprint planning session and the key stakeholders that should be there are not there. Your lead engineer is not there. Your QA is not there. Designer is not, like, optimize your sprint planning sessions well. All the things that are unclear to you, document them as bullet points, and then manage your meetings optimally. Do what you need to do, and then keep things moving. So that's one of the things I think. And then another thing, the last thing I'll mention is make sure your team knows that you believe in their capacity. That's
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah. Very,
If
very.
you do not believe in the capacity of a team member, it's time to start thinking of how to fire them. That's the honest truth, especially if you're in a startup environment. If you believe there's a loose end, or there is someone that is dragging the team back, a weak team member that's really holding us back, we need to start making plans to replace the person. But if you believe in the competency of the people you have brought to the team, you need to let them know that you believe in their competence. And sometimes what that could also mean is sometimes you might have to teach, if you have some junior team members on your junior people on the team, you might actually have to teach them how to think, for lack of a better word. You might say, okay, I have this product owner reporting to me. Oh, she has done this research, she has done this work. You might have to sit with the person and say, oh, have you considered XYZ? You say, oh, this is a good job, right? But to you, in your head, it's just is an okay job, but you cannot say this is an okay job. You say, oh, this is a good job. Well done for the effort. Appreciate the effort first. And
Yes.
then you go to, okay, could you perhaps think of doing XYZ this way? Did you explore this market? Have you considered this volume? The total addressable market here might not make sense for us. Then begin to articulate how the person should think. And then you say, okay, next time you could also consider, when you want to think of this, consider putting in these metrics, consider these research parameters, that you have taught the person how to think for the next type of feature they would
Yes.
build when they want to do another job. Same thing for design. You tell the guy, you're building a B2B SaaS platform. Okay, these are the key players in the space. You can request a demo. You can do this to see how this works. You can use this approach for this. Guide their thinking. When you begin to do that, it becomes a habit. Day to day, develop the muscle to begin to, I won't say think that way, but to begin to think through their work. They become introspective with their work. They would look at their work with different lens,
Yeah.
and sometimes they would even run their work with other senior people on the team before they bring it to you. You get. So I think those are the things that really, really helps to manage the healthy tension that exists across teams. And with compliance, you have to be very, so the thing is that compliance is always trying to save the back of the business, right? So whenever they push back, it's because they don't want you to enter trouble. They don't want the business to enter trouble, right?
Yes.
So most times with compliance, it's really about sitting down. So sometimes you might have to read the regulation that is making them push back. That's the honest truth. You might have to read the regulation. You might have to go take the regulation, maybe sit with GPT or Claude and tell it to explain it to you like a child and its impact on what you're building. Tell it to give you alternatives. Run the alternatives by the compliance lead and ask him, these alternatives, are they things we should consider? It will still save our backs. We will not enter trouble with regulators. We'll do this, we'll do that. Run it by engineering or the solution architect and get their buy-in and all of that. So that's typically what I think when it comes to managing the dynamics of the team and leading the team. Know what's important to them, use it. Sometimes teach them how to think about what it is they're working on. Use various communication methods if you're working with people across different time zones to get what you want very quickly. And then always know that, sell the vision to them in a way that they believe so that they can run the journey with you.
Well, you've mentioned a lot of things regarding this, which I know that I've been able to capture a few things from your explanation. Uh, some places that I've worked, you just need to praise the engineers so that they can deliver excellent, maybe tickets next time. Because if you don't do that, you will hear it. You will hear it. I understand it sincerely. Yeah. So
Or you can also, sorry to interrupt, you can also privately correct and publicly applaud when necessary. So you privately you tell them, what is this wrong? Like, this is not what we asked for privately, but publicly you're like, oh, thank you for taking in the feedback I gave you privately, and you're doing a better job. So just know the dynamics of your team and just manage it. But it
you-
doesn't mean you should give, if it's not necessary to give that, you don't have to just be like someone that is always giving praises when it's not necessary. But yeah,
just the goal is for you to understand your team better. So
team,
if you're able to,
yes,
yeah, if
yes,
you're able to understand your team, you will know,
yes,
okay, this particular person A is different from person
yes,
B, and you will know
correct.
how to basically attend or tell them what they actually need to hear. Yeah, thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Our time is far gone. Hurrah. But we still have a few things to talk about. So
It's okay. Okay.
the the other thing, I've worked in different environments, both public and
Mhm,
private sectors.
mhm.
But the other thing I notice is that every stakeholders believes that their requirement is very, very urgent. As a leader in this product space, how do you prioritize? Because person A will come, my ticket is urgent. Person B will come, my ticket is urgent. So how do you prioritize when it comes to stakeholders' requirements? How do you prioritize it?
Okay. So hmm, I don't want to come and start saying that these are the prioritization frameworks you use. I'm going to give real life examples, right?
Yes, please.
There are prioritization frameworks you can use. When I was in, some companies, they use scaled agile safe. So you use WSGF. Some companies they use rice, all those things. I won't talk about those things. You can research what those things are. But in real life, when you're getting your hands in the job, right? Prioritization starts with setting clear vision for each sprint. That's the honest truth. Setting a clear vision for each sprint and then prioritizing according to that clear vision. The only thing that can dilute that vision is when there's a regulatory um, alert. Let me use that word. There's a compliance or regulation, there's a regulatory alert that is like That's the only thing that can bypass your sprints, your sprints plan. So that's usually my recommendation. Keep things going. But if you receive a weird transaction happen within the system, somebody moves $10 million, it's entered, you will stop everything. All engineers, everybody, we need to investigate this. Or what can happen is, which is what I recommend, split your team. If you have 4 back-end engineers, 4 front-end engineers, split them. Let the senior ones be working on new features. Let the junior ones be working, or one senior, one junior, work on the new features for the sprint. One senior, one junior, work on the bugs. And then you prioritize the compliance bugs first. So those ones, their job is to be focusing on, I won't use the word focusing on bugs, but just, fixing the bugs. And if we have low inflow of bugs in the pipeline, move them, so it's just really about resource planning. Move
Yeah.
them to focus on the the sprint deliverables, right? So that's typically how I approached it. And I know that it will be different for an enterprise company. You can't use the same approach. I'm speaking largely for a startup or a middle-sized company. You can't use the same approach for an enterprise company, right? For an enterprise company, the tickets are funneled in, and you now sit down and prioritize it with the business team, right? If there are certain compliance spikes, you sit with the data analyst. When I was working at, let me back, when I was working at InterSwitch, I had the data analyst, assigned to me. So I would sit with him and look at the data, and I didn't have to sweat about SQL, Power BI, and all those things. We had the data analyst doing that. I just need to tell him, this is what I want to achieve. This data is not looking like this. We spool it, we look at it, we do what we need to do. It's not like that with a startup. You'll probably have to do the data filtering yourself
Yeah.
to understand and all that. But honestly, prioritization starts when the sprint goal for each sprint is clear, it's clearly defined, and when you have set a standard with the team from day one that nothing will tamper with this thing except there is a compliance roadblock or alert. And in that case, we actually all have to pause and fix it, because we don't want anything that will break, that would cost us fines or cost us the company. So that's typically how I approach it.
Okay. Compliance bug is very, very important, and I agree with you because anything regulation, anything, you just have to be aligned with them. As a
Yes.
lot of things can,
Go
even the
wrong.
company can shut down because of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Because I know in Nigeria there is something that I don't know, maybe they've passed it to law or something where all your finance data needs to reside in
In
the country.
Nigeria,
Yeah,
I heard
so
that recently.
yeah, so there are a lot of things. So you, you just need to uh also do something and move your data because if you didn't do that, I don't know.
That's an
Like,
example of a regulation. So if you had your sprint plans for the next 3 sprints and that regulation has come in, you have to sit with the compliance and tech lead to define what that regulation means, how you would gradually migrate the data. You get inputs from the engineer on how it will be done. You won't immediately do it. Let's assume they've passed the regulation now. You won't immediately say, okay, let's move it. No, 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 no. You won't disrupt your sprint. You need to understand it, have a plan for it, sit with the necessary stakeholders. And
mhm.
then if you can see that it's something that can be done in the next sprint, it's clear to everyone what needs to be done in migrating the data, you would then begin to add it into sprint and deprioritize some other things within the sprint. Or if you need to actually hire extra hands, maybe your team is good with a certain part of I don't know, data, and you need an extra hand, you can request for an extra hand from another team, or maybe a part-time person. But
Yeah.
for that kind of work, you will not want a part-time person to do migration of data. No, you will
We'll
just
say you
request
can take that.
hire hire a new person, or just the scope, reprioritize what you set in motion for the sprints.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're getting close to the end of this particular episode. I have a few more things to actually mention. A lot of people are going into product now. I've seen a lot that have actually reached out to me. Uh,
Mm.
so the other thing I want to ask: what skills should aspiring product managers develop if they want to work in payments, fintech, and the likes? What can you basically suggest regarding that? What keys can they be looking into as aspiring product managers?
Okay, so this is what I would recommend. First of all, sit down, read up various job resumes for junior product managers in the US, in Europe, in North America, Europe, Africa. Just read the job description. As you read those job, this is a practical approach I'm saying.
Okay.
Read the job descriptions of product managers in various countries. You'll see some of the skill sets they want, some of the tools they're using. Write it down. Just be writing it down. Once you've done that exercise, you keep it. Then you would set a time every day to understand some of those tools. If the predominant tool you've seen across body, for instance, is Jira, and you don't know nothing about Jira, you
Okay.
sit down, you say Saturday, I'll spend 1 hour watching videos on Jira. Sundays, I'll spend 1 hour watching videos on, I don't know, maybe stable coins, for instance. If you're trying to enter DeFi space, you do that. You need to learn self-mastery, right? You need to learn how to lead yourself. I think that's the word to use. And this is part of the things I am also doing it. I know stable coins, I know financial payments, but the way money works in the US and Nigeria is not how money works in Argentina. If I join a team that is looking to expand to Argentina, do I know what the nuances of payments is in Argentina? Do I know the nuances of payments in Singapore? Asia and Europe are miles ahead in terms of payments than the rest of the world. That's the honest truth. In Brazil, for instance, you can receive stable coins and to settle directly into your bank.
Wow.
Their infrastructure allows for it. I had to sit down. I listen to a podcast actually. I don't listen to it often, but I do 2 podcasts a week. I listen to 2 in a week, right? On stable coins and other things. So you have to actually develop, look for, set a roadmap for yourself. Yes, that's the word. Set a roadmap for yourself, right? Tell yourself that, okay, once you do that first exercise, you've done your research, you know the skills required, the tools that are used across the rest of the world. You set a target of how many videos you watch on how to use those tools, how many videos you watch on how to do this. You also learn about communication, learn how to communicate clearly. I know it sounds like, oh, I have excellent communication skills. Until you start working with the global team, you won't know if you have excellent communication skills or not, honestly. Because there's some people you will not even hear what they're saying. Like, I don't want to mention some
I agree.
places. You won't hear what they're saying when they're talking to you. You say, okay, could you kindly type that out? So you have to improve your listening. You'll be struck that there'll be videos or podcasts online that teaches you how to listen effectively, how to talk, how to communicate clearly. Do you understand what I mean? Read those things and learn about them. If you're entering a space you know nothing about, there's still some spaces I know nothing about. You'll be like, DeFi is large. Traditional finance is also a large space, So I have also done the same. I'm learning about, okay, what does custody as a service look like? I'm learning about reserves. There's something called reserve financial infrastructure.
Not
I
heard
didn't
of
know
it.
that before now. Yes, somebody's building something there. People are doing stuff. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I agree.
So you have to just take your life as a roadmap, as a project, and say, this is what I've discovered is needed in this space I want to enter. This is the gap, do a gap analysis. This is what I do not know, right? This is my plan to know those things. And you must be intentional and consistent. I told you that when I was pivoting from project to product, I gave myself a target of reading certain number of articles
Yeah.
every day. I was doing that. I was reading a certain number of articles. I was reading 3 articles every day on products, and then I'll read glossary of terms on the go. Just read about it, right? So that I can be fluent in the language of the space, right? So those are some of the key points that I would and let me give you. I know I'm digressing again, but I'll be fast. When I first graduated from school, fresh out of school, my first degree, 2010. My first job, I told you I was working as a project engineer in an oil and gas company. It was a small company as well, but they were doing a project for Oando. And that meant I had to be sending emails to people in Oando and senior people in Oando fresh from school. So every time I send those emails, my boss would be so angry because he says I'm sending emails like I said I'm chatting with someone on Facebook. Like, I honestly didn't know what to do because I'm like, and this was way back, maybe like 2010, so this is a long time. 2010 or so, yeah. So I didn't know what to do. I'm like, so one day he just came into the office. He was like, "Oh, that's why I buy all this Harvard Business Review. These people are not reading." So you know what I did that day? That time I still used to take, this was 2010, I used to take the BRT to work in Lagos. So I set a target for myself. In the morning when I'm going to work, instead of sitting down idle in the BRT, I'll read one article from Harvard Business Review. On my way back, I'll read two. And I was following Harvard Business Review, and I was following there's one African energy journal. I was following them. So I was reading their tweets and I was reading those articles because I wanted to improve my communication skills, my written communication skills when I'm sending emails to senior people and all of that, right? So I got that feedback from my boss. And rather than say, oh, what they say, workplace violence or something, because somebody shouted that, I took it as feedback that I needed to improve, and I did the needful, right? And I remember that down the line, when we needed to do a commercial and technical bid submission, I did the commercial and technical bid submission.
Wow.
I did it. And when we finished, we just run it by a consultant to evaluate. And my boss was proud of me. I can never forget, because that was my first experience out of school, right? So what I say that to say, you need to take your life seriously. If you see that there is a gap, someone tells you your communication skills is bad, or you don't know how to communicate effectively, or you don't actually know an industry, you just know peripheral knowledge of it, go in depth, know what it takes, understand the nuances of what you're working with, and then you'll become better. That's how I would approach it. I'm not going to say you need to evaluate your communication skills, then you need to do this. I'm not really going to go with that approach. This is the honest approach I think that you can go with. Just evaluate, do a gap analysis, have an idea of where you want to be, have a roadmap of how you want to get there, and be intentional about improving every day. Sometimes it might mean you listening to one podcast every day on a particular industry. It might mean you read an article every day, you read glossary of terms every day, you watch one video every Saturday or two videos every Saturday to understand how a tool works. And then gradually you just say that you're getting better, and just apply for those jobs, apply for them and do the interviews. As you continue to apply for those jobs, you refine your oratory prowess in communicating in the language of that skill. And you get feedback from the hiring managers on what you did well and what you didn't do well. And that serves as input into doing better better as you prepare for other interviews. So that's just what I would recommend.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, for the last word, because I too, right? I don't really apply to some jobs, not because I need the jobs, but just for me to know, okay, this is the level I'm currently at.
Of
Just for me,
knowledge I have.
yeah, just for me to
So you can
gauge
improve.
myself, right? So thank you for that as well.
Yes.
Um, Second question to the last, right? Is about we have a whole lot of funders now
Mm-hmm,
that are going into payment, stable coins.
mm-hmm.
I want, what are the advice? Let's just pick one advice. What is one advice that you can actually give as someone that have been in the industry for a while, also as someone that has been a product leader for a whole lot of years? What is just one advice that you can actually give to founders go into building payment, stable coins, or anything regarding like embedded finance products today?
Okay. I would say, that's a good question. I would say, honestly, customers don't care about payment rails. They care that money moves quickly and safely and predictably, and they care that they trust you. And so what that means is you need to understand what you're building for well. If you do not understand it, hire the hands that understand it. That's just the truth. Hire the hands that understand it and build. Because you wouldn't always, the goal is not to sound like, oh, I have all these payment providers working for me, or I have the best payment infrastructure. That payment infrastructure must be invisible. Must be
Yeah,
invisible to your customers, and it must be seamless, and they need to be able to trust you. So I would say, one, make sure you understand what it is you're trying to build. If you do not understand, get a co-founder that understands it and understands it well.
hmm,
Two, you do not need a large team to begin. That's the honest truth. You do not need a large team to begin. Conceptualize. One of the advice, I give is startup founder that I know is, once you have your concept, hire a lead product manager. Like, oh, I can't afford it. Like, okay, hire a lead product manager. Let the person break it down. Let the person understand it. Create your product strategy. Create your PRDs. Create the fundamentals. Hire a backend expert, maybe as a contract staff. That backend expert and product manager. This is if you want to run lean. Or you get a co-founder that is a product person. Yes, that's another thing you can do. You either get a co-founder that is a product person or a CTO, a co-founder that will be a technical person that will serve as your CTO. That's what I recommend. So that you run lean. The person knows that they have a stake in the business, so they have to make sure the business works, right?
Yeah.
So if your co-founder is a CTO, it helps. All you need to just hire a senior product lead or a senior product person that understands payment. 3 of you are only people you need at the initial phase. Flesh out the vision, flesh out the strategy, have an idea, break down, all what the customers need, what market should we enter, do all that groundwork first, and let your CTO be in that discussion. Once that is set and it's clear to the 3 key members, begin to hire your front end, back end. The CTO would also have an idea of the back end infrastructure. Begin to hire those people in bits. Some people like to hire junior hands and then senior hands later. I mean, that's totally your prerogative. Some would use, Upwork and all those platforms. That's your prerogative. So that's just, you can run lean that way. And then once you've gone to the market with your MVP and you've validated the need for it with the users transacting and using it, then you build capacity to be able to approach investors and say, there's a market need for this. These are transacting volume. This is what we have been able to do. This is the projected revenue. You have your deck, you have your pitch deck ready for them because you've been able to validate the idea, and then you can move. I don't know if that answers your question. If we're expecting something
Yeah.
else,
Yes. Definitely.
but
Definitely.
that is what I would advise any founder to do.
Definitely.
Really understand what you're building for, understand the payment space, or hire someone as your co-founder or partner with someone as your co-founder who understands it, and then run lean, and then validate it, check the product market fit by validating your MVP, and then create your solid pitch deck to approach investors. I'll go that route.
Mm.
I'll
Okay.
go that route.
Okay.
That's what I would recommend, but that's not what everybody else
Yeah,
would think.
definitely,
But
definitely.
yes,
Yeah.
that's what I
So
recommend.
you've mentioned 2 things. Get CTO, CPO, or
Mm,
CTO and a product lead. So it all depends, right? So
yes.
like you mentioned, it depends on what the co-founder or the founder wants. So, but
Well,
your own advice is left for them to take. Yeah.
yes.
So last but not the least for me, right, for today, it's going to be in the next 5 years. How do you expect payment and stable coins? Not only in Africa, also in US. Because you mentioned a lot of things about US. And I
Yes.
can see a lot of opportunity over there. But in the next 3 to 5 years, how do you expect payment, stable coins uh, in Africa and also the rest of the world?
I think that we are moving from a world of just digital payments to a world of programmable money. That's internet money moving at the speed of the internet. And so product leaders will be spending less time deciding which payments rail, or they'll spend less time designing intelligent financial experience. No, they'll be spending more time, designing intelligent financial experiences that abstracts the complexity from users. Um, the winners won't necessarily be the companies that, I don't know, that are using the newest technologies. They'll be the ones that they know how to take advantage of the sophisticated financial infrastructure and make it intuitive for customers.
Yeah,
Those are the people that would really win.
I agree.
Take for instance, the company I was working for. Let me just mention again, one industry, right? One of the things that was tested recently, was the fact that somebody traveled to, I think, an European country. You can fund. There's a card product within the app. So you can fund that card products with both USDC, which is stablecoin, and fiat, and you can
Wow.
spend. Yes.
Wow.
So take for instance, I know I'm using so many examples. WorldPay, I think it's WorldPay, the company that supports a lot of POSs, they were down. And I read a tweet where people were complaining, people were trying to get beer. We're in World Cup season. So people were trying to get beer from a restaurant, alcohol from a restaurant, and they couldn't. They were like, oh, we want, And in my head, I was thinking as a product person, the POS is down. And people from Europe, people from like Africa, people from this part of the world, they can't pay in a merchant store. Why? Honestly, it was a deep-seated question in my head, and I started to think about how can we solve for this? Why? The POS, if an infrastructure provider is down, we don't have, as much as you say so many
Oh,
people are playing in this space, as much as so many people are playing this space, there are not really so many options, because look at it. You are from Switzerland, now you want to buy alcohol. You couldn't buy it because how would you have paid for it? Is it wise? Should companies have wise accounts so that people can like those are things I want to be thinking about. The future really is for global payments to be interoperable and simple. However, way that is achieved, whether it is multiple liquidity partners, whether it's through stable coins, whether it's the future is that global payments should be easy and accessible for both merchants, large scale businesses, and individuals. That's how the future of payment should be. It should be global, interoperable, and intuitive. Global, interoperable, intuitive, and simple for users, whether those users are merchants, large scale businesses, or individuals. That is when we say we have gotten to a point in the payment industry where we can breathe a little. But yes, that's what I think we should be thinking about in terms of building solutions for the future.
Wow. Wow. I was looking at that your example. I was like,
Yes, it happened.
really
You can
wrong.
Google. Yeah, it happened. It happened. You can
Wow.
read. You can Google it. Just type it on Twitter. Like,
Hmm.
oh, was WorldPay down and all that? How people react in restaurants and all that. It's happened before. I was actually, when I came back from, I went somewhere with a friend. We went to buy food at Chipotle, and the thing was, and we're craving Chipotle. It was down. The machines were down. I was just looking, and we're hungry. And I was just thinking, and we didn't have cash. So I was like, okay, let's look for an ATM. We are now Googling ATM close by. We're checking Google Maps. If we quickly go to an ATM, withdraw cash and come and pay with cash. Because the POS terminal, or whoever is powering POS was, it might be just a few seconds, and that shows you that businesses can be halted when a provider goes. What are the alternatives we have?
Yeah, that's true.
Digital payment alternatives we have to these types of challenges. Even in Nigeria, we have alternatives. If a POS is down, people just transfer. People just, okay, could you give me? But merchants don't do that. I don't know if they do that now, but before I left, they don't do that. So if I go to like a spa is like a large a large store like ShopRite, like a large grocery store, right? If I go to spa and I shop and the POS terminals are down, what are the alternatives?
Hmm.
Maybe cash. If the ATMs are also down, what are the alternatives? Do they have the capabilities to receive payments in other forms? The merchants have the capability to receive payments in other forms apart from those forms we just discussed. If Nigeria wants to host African Cup of Nations tomorrow, can people from Tanzania, from Botswana, from all those countries, when they come into Nigeria, if they forget their card at home, is there a way they can pay in the store?
Hmm.
No, there's no way.
Yes, no way.
There is no way. So, as much as they say that there is proliferation of payment systems and finance, there's still challenges, or there's still problems to solve for. So, as I said, those that would really do well in the future, not just stable coins, are one of the success stories out of crypto, because it's enabling near instant settlement
Yeah.
24/7
Yes.
at minimal cost, right? So that is great for individual users and probably also businesses, but we need to begin to think of merchants and how that will be seamless for merchants. I know there might be solutions that exist now. Maybe I'm not aware of some of them, but yeah, those are my closing thoughts.
Thank you so
Build
much.
systems, yes.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your perspective because a lot of examples today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This conversation
Yeah,
has been so strong for product strategy in payments, stable coins. We've talked about it a lot. And
yes,
you mentioned something, it's not about technology alone, right? You need to understand your customer, right? You need to also know regulations here and there, compliance here and there to manage your risk. And one thing that you also mentioned that I didn't go into it today because of the time is about
yes,
trust, because trust is very key. If a
it
customer
is.
does not trust your product, that's the end of it. They won't use it.
Yes.
That's just the end. Yeah, thank you so much, Yemisi, today.
Thank
To
you.
everyone who joined
Thank you for
us,
having me.
thank you so much. To everyone who joined us or who is listening to the podcast for today, or the people that were still listening, thank you so much. Please follow Tech Nigeria FM across all our social media platforms. You can also subscribe. You can watch some of our previous episodes as well. You can gain one or two things from there as well. I remain your host. I'm Babatunde Esenju, and I look forward to speaking with you again on the next episode of Tech Nigeria FM. We will still bring you back to come and talk about AI in products, how you're actually using it in your own way. People can also learn from it because I know you use AI a lot. You've mentioned cloud, you've mentioned ChatGPT today, but on one of these next episode, we'll still bring you to come and talk about how you're actually making use of it. Up to next time, like I do say, keep building, keep impacting. I know we will also hear about your success story soon. Thank you so much, everyone. All right, bye.